Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily AI Show. Today is November 11th. It's Veterans Day here in the United States. I'm not sure, it might be Veterans Day in other countries as well, but a quick thank you to all our veterans. We appreciate you, my wife being one of them, as well as several other family members who are enjoying the day off. And if you're my wife, going around and getting the free food samples and takeaways from all the places that are catering to the veterans, which is awesome. So that's where she's out enjoying her day. Today we got Jyunmi, Andy, and I'm Brian. As always, we're doing this 5 days a week. Thanks to everybody, and thanks Jude and Cisco who are already in the comments. You can join us live by coming over to YouTube if you want to be with us at 10 a.m. Eastern when we do the live show. Of course, we understand that you're going to be catching up with us later. You might catch us up on the podcast when we post that, wherever you might find us. Hey, we always appreciate a like or subscribe if you love what we're doing. We're growing every month over month. This is episode 592. So we've been doing this for a while, and we know we still get quite a few new listeners. So if you like this, give us a like or a shout out. We appreciate it. And come join us in the live chat. That'd always be welcomed as well. As always, we're going to kick off with some news of the day. Then we've got a couple different segments that Andy's got set up for us. So without further ado, let's just get to it. I know Jyunmi and Andy, you guys said I have like two stories, but you guys said you had quite a few. So why don't one of you guys kick this off?
Sure. I will open up with an AI and science story. I came across a story about EHR, or electronic health records. Embedded AI boosts dementia detection in primary care. And this comes from the JAMA network open. So a randomized clinical trial in
hang tight, Jimmy.
Oh,
I'm getting that our live went away and I have a go live at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, it looks fine to me.
Somebody in our chat would be great if you could tell us if we're live or not, because it's not showing live on my screen. Cisco or Jude or whatever, let us know in the chat because it's not showing it on my side.
Gotcha.
I can jump over. Keep going, Jimmy, and
okay.
I'll go on mute. I'm going to go check over on YouTube because I'm not seeing
Mine
it.
shows live and recording.
Yeah.
It's probably just me, but I also don't see any other. You're live. Jude says we're live. Okay. I apologize. It literally on my screen says we're not live, and there's not, it went dark almost. So before we went any farther, sorry, Jimmy, please continue with the news. Thank you, guys.
No worries. Okay. Let's see here. All right. So a randomized clinical trial in 9 federally qualified health centers tested a no-cost, fully digital approach to flag likely dementia during routine care. Clinics embedded 2 tools into their electronic health records, the Quick Dementia Rating System, or the QDRS, a 10-question patient checklist, and a passive digital marker. An AI model then scans existing EHR data for dementia risk signals. Compared to with usual care, clinics who use both tools saw 31% higher odds of new Alzheimer's and related dementia diagnosis over 12 months, and a 41% higher odds of follow-up diagnostic assessments, the authors had reported. The trial enrolled 5,325 patients aged 65 plus and delivered results to clinicians inside the EHR inbox, avoiding extra visit time or license fees. Because the AI runs on data already in the chart, it can scale in lower resource settings, though external validation and bias checks are still needed. The study offers rare RCT evidence that AI plus a brief patient survey can raise real-world detection without burdening clinicians.
I love this. I want to see more of this. This is a great use of AI. I know there's obviously going to be concerns about HIPAA and other things and data, but listen, there's so much information that's not usually being cross-referenced. It's getting better in the medical community, but we see it all the time. If you happen to jump to one doctor, it can be very difficult if you're not on top of it to just simply share. More times than not, it's because they can't just literally see your data and your records. So if we have more AI solutions here that can help and just flag what's already in there, or like you said, Jimmy, maybe a light survey to go with it. Well, now we're actually helping people. Maybe we're getting to the early, early detection of things like Alzheimer's and preventative care, or maybe other things like cancer. So I'm all for this. I think this is like one of what AI will revolutionize in health, I think, is going to be jaw dropping if it hasn't been already. So it's just another feather in that cap,
Exactly. And it does sound like this is an application of edge AI or smaller models because it lives within the record system itself. Now, need to get more details to see how those systems are within any health organization or within the clinic. But if we can scale down the AI to be attached to that one locale,
Yeah.
that does help with things like HIPAA and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. Good call. Love it. That's a great start. Andy, what did you got?
Yeah, so it's on the same kind of subject where AI is being used to dramatically improve the interpretability of vast and complex data sets in real time in a way that we couldn't before. And this one is really compelling to me, which is it's a brain decoder that is non-invasive. And this is from an article in the Scientific American, which is a very reputable science journal. And this is about AI being used to decode visual brain activity and write eerily accurate sentences about what is being seen through that visual brain activity. So to give you an example of how this is just amazing is, suppose you are watching a silent video of a dog pushing the ball with its nose. Okay, now the AI system has been trained with a non-invasive, just basically a set of those sensors all the way around. You've seen those helmet kind of things with all the little dots on it. It's basically that, but the AI can then say a dog is pushing a ball with its nose. That's what'll come out. And then if you subsequently show it something where, a dog is hit by a ball, it won't confuse those two, and it'll actually keep the sort of the physics of what's going on in there correct. So like it's, the action and the subject of the action, all those things are maintained in it. And the people who did this, are kind of surprised that they can get that much detail out of the brain's actions, right? The visualization by the AI of what's happening in the brain. But now here's the really fun part. It's not just while you're watching something, but if you then just remember the action, it will be able to translate that and caption the action that you're remembering.
That's crazy.
And then take it another level, which is you can just imagine something. You can make something up, and it will decode that complex content and abstract that into this text sentence that describes what you're seeing. Now, you can imagine that this is a very first step towards actually being able to reproduce what the person is seeing in their mind, like with images, because the training was done, in order to match that, the brain activity patterns to a meaning signature. It was done while 6 participants' brain scans were being observed while watching over 2,000 videos. Now imagine that this goes to a much larger scale, but also, gets to the point where the AI is being trained to actually generate videos that are aligned with that by learning from the non-invasive, mapping of the brain, and being able to see the video at the same time, what the correlation is between those two things. And it's just mind-boggling how much data is being interpreted and represented by the AI in that process.
That is true, like science fiction type stuff. Like that's what that sounds like, like, wait, no way, but it's really cool. I will not be volunteering to have the space cap put on my head, because I just feel like whoever, like the person has to do the lie detector test, you got the person quietly writing. I just feel like it'd just be a lot of redacted redacted. Just a lot of blacked out spots on whatever my report is going. Yeah, we didn't expect to see that when we got in there, but here we are. So I don't think anybody's asking to see my thoughts.
I'm sure they will want test subjects who have very focused minds. So that puts me out
get
there
some
as
SEAL
well.
team folks in there.
Yeah.
Get some people who've been trained for that and are good under pressure and have a good control. All right. Well, those are two good stories. I have a story that's not really science related. It's actually business related, and that is that Lovable has just reached 8 million users, which is pretty impressive. Not only because 8 million is impressive, but because number one, they only launched a year ago, and number two, they only had 2 million users in July. So they're up and to the right. They got hockey stick growth there, and they're getting new rounds of funding and stuff. I recently talked about them because I was really curious about Lovable Cloud, because to me that really solved a big problem for me, which is like, yes, I can do vibe coding, yes, I can have fun, but at the point where I had to start messing around with Superbase or Pinecone and stuff like that, it left me wanting a little bit. And what Lovable said is, well, here we'll solve for that, which I think was a brilliant move on their part. I demonstrated something I had built fairly quickly after listening to Andy talk about putting PRDs together, project requirement documents and stuff. So I'm going to take another swing at it with which I've intended to do with Lovable. More, if no other reason, I literally just got charged $50 from Lovable, and that stung. And I thought, $50? Why is it $50? I thought it was $25. Well, I had upped 25 because I ran out of credits while I was building the last thing I was building, and I upped it to get the more credits. Well, lesson learned, that also puts you at that new tier next month and the next month after, unless you say you want less credits. So it wasn't a one-off, it was a literal tier move. And so it's okay because I didn't lose that $50. I literally now have $50. It's kind of like, well, I could ask for a refund. I'm sure I could go and they do it or whatever. But I'm in the wrong here.
You don't need to do that because I did the very same thing. I backed off from the $50 a month. I think I went up to the $80 a month thing, but there was I forget what the exact amount was. And I paid for that for a couple of months, but then I ended up not being active in Lovable that often. So I just backed down to the next tier, but you keep all the credits that you accumulated. So I have a big bank of credits there. They don't expire in Lovable. So you'll be able to use them eventually. And Lovable is a great place to do all kinds of various kinds of projects. I've only ended up working on one project in Lovable to a large extent. But I should start to turn back to Lovable to do even smaller things that I want to accomplish.
I think that's going to be my goal in this next one. I'm glad you said that, Andy. I also learned a lot. I thought I'd done a pretty good job with the PRD at the beginning, and I didn't. Quite frankly, I think I could have gone much deeper and farther putting that together outside of Lovable. You recommended that because you're just not burning through Lovable credits. And taking the extra 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is, over the course of a week to just really think through your problem and what you're trying to solve, even for a smaller project, I think is going to pay dividends. It ends up being much cheaper because you're just not burning credits, and Lovable will happily help you with the problem, but you want to try to get
and by the way, I believe Lovable has did for a period of time, it had a feature where you could select chat.
You can.
Was not, so
but I still seem to go through
mode, that doesn't consume credits. You can just chat with the model, and I think you could actually use chat to develop a PRD. Except that at the very end, after the chat, you'd have to actually output that as a markdown file, I think, and then it'd burn a small amount of credit.
I will. This is a good thing, and I will go check it. Obviously, we didn't want this to be about look, we go use Lovable. I mean, they're doing well. There's a reason 8 million people are there, and they've 4x'd in less than 6 months. Also, they have a very high retention rate. Now, I don't know if that's like people like me who got charged $50 and are like, we kept Brian. And I'm like, well, okay. But case in point, they have a very high retention rate. And I think you kind of nailed it, Andy. These don't need to be enterprise grade solution that you're building. They can actually be small solutions. Think of something that would just make your week better or whatever. I think there's some really cool ways to do that. So anyway, just wanted to mention it. That was one of my news stories, just about Lovable. But let's send it back over to you guys, Andy or Jyunmi. I think Jyunmi, you said you had a few. Do you have another news story you want to share?
Yeah. I want to talk about Time Magazine. So Time debuts their AI agent, and it's trained only on its 102-year archive.
Nice.
I didn't realize Time was was around that long, but apparently, so Time launched an AI agent that answers questions and generates text summaries and audio briefings from roughly 750,000 items in its own archive. The publisher said that the system, built with Scale AI, supports 13 languages at launch and is limited to Time content for answers rather than the open web. Time framed the move as engagement first, not immediate monetizations. And leaders said that the agent will later gain logged-in memory and may expand beyond politics and entertainment into more of the site.
I love that idea.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, don't forget, Time gets to keep, or whoever's running that gets to keep all that data. So it's in their best interest to have people in there just poking around. And they, you should subsidize it. You should make it free, because that data is so valuable. They're going to learn so much over the course of, the next year or so, if they really do a good job with marketing it, on how people are asking questions against that data set. And what do they want to know? And what do they want to know more of? And not only could it help Time create net new content, that it clearly is, but it's like taking thousands of surveys a week, so I love that companies are doing this. It's really smart for them to do this, especially if you're something like that's, I think people generally respect Time. I don't know what the general public consensus is of Time, but I think people probably respect it. I'm not sure. But regardless, if you have that resource, I think that's super cool. I hope more people do this, like in niche areas.
And it is available to use right now. So you can go to time.com/timeai and you can try out their base version. It's super beta. 2 queries made it lock into an endless loop for me, but they are very clear on the planning and reasoning steps. So you can see some feedback from there, and it provides the articles that it finds for your query, and so you can click directly into that.
This is the future of microfiche. Come on.
Yeah.
We all had to deal with microfiche. We're all old enough to have been in the library in the dark doing that stuff. This seems way better.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't get to test out, and I hope that they do, is because Life is part of Time. So I wanted to see if you could access their actual photos, like those very famous photos from Life magazine, and pull that up so that you can see that as like historical context and things like that. So hopefully that'll be part of it, and it's not generating something or just to an article or anything like that. So we'll see what comes out of that.
I knew that Life and Time were linked. I don't know. I never thought about it, but that's news to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I knew that, but I think now Life magazine no longer exists, right? Yeah.
So it's more the historical references, like.
And I was going to remark about Time that I used to be a subscriber to Time and Life for most of my life, but then Time in the digital realm now has gotten kind of weird. And if you click on anything that's being proposed by Time, you're going to be flooded with ads and interrupts to your thing. It's illegible.
Yeah, that does suck.
Okay, I want to talk about something that's really present in the conundrum of AI development, which is the open source approach that the Chinese labs are taking, and the closed approach that the main frontier model developers in the United States are taking, with the exception of the historical work that Llama represents, from Meta as an open source path for AI development. So just in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of news about Kimi 2 from Moonshot Labs. And that's a Chinese startup. And they developed this model called K2 thinking. And it's an open source reasoning model. It can think long and hard, 300 steps straight through without losing a step. And it's basically, it matches or beats the best closed models. Here's some examples. It outscores GPT-5 on expert level reasoning, 45% to ChatGPT-5's 42%. It demolished humans on web research tasks, 60% versus 30%, right? So it's way beyond human capabilities when it comes to deep research. And it was developed in a training run that cost a total of $4.6 million, whereas GPT-5 would have cost many billions of dollars to train. So it's better in many respects. It's open source, so you can use it. And this is part of the underlying pressures that caused Jensen Huang of NVIDIA recently to say, China's going to win the AI race. You know, we had this big sort of, we had an AI bubble pop, you know, small bubble pop early in the year that was partly a function of the emergence of the Chinese low-cost models being competitive at the frontier level. But more importantly, it had to do with the questions about whether enterprise, who's going to ultimately pay for a lot of this, you know, in long-term remuneration to the developers of AI, you know, whether they were really seeing the results necessary. And I think it was just a little too early to see that that would happen. And I'm long-term an optimist about just how completely AI will transform the economics of business. And we can see that on a micro level in many ways right now. But here you have these Chinese companies, and Moonshot is a really impressive development. And Kimi K2 thinking is something that if you are using AI in the API world, you're developing something, you ought to be, you know, taking advantage of that. Why? Because it's a fraction of the cost of the major frontier models. Like if if you can get access to these things, like on Open Router, or there's a cool new tool that I'm going to tell you about right now called llmgateway.io. llmgateway.io. You can get to any model of importance across the spectrum, closed and open, and access them via a single API at this LLM gateway. So this is simplifying dramatically the switchability, if you will, of models for comparison purposes or for, you know, cost reductions over time. You build your application to access AI tools and models through this single API, and you can access multiple models simultaneously in your process by scheduling the API calls however you like. And if you notice in LLM Gateway that, oh, this model does just as well as that one, well, let's switch over to that one because it's a fraction of the cost. Kimi K2 thinking is available there, along with all the other different models from Moonshot. OpenAI models are there, Gemini models are there, everything. So, you know, we're rapidly getting to the point where it's not going to be simply a function of the sort of inertia that people are stuck on ChatGPT or whatever, but many tools will emerge that will let you chat or let your assistant or agents chat with any of the models through a single point of contact, as LLM Gateway demonstrates. So it's a fluid market out there, and the Chinese are arguably ahead in many ways. That
Yeah, I saw that on Kimi as well. Apparently it's very good at writing, like creative writing. So
yeah, I saw that it apparently generates 1,600 tokens for a single sentence, compared to DeepSeek R1's 110%. So it's really thinking hard about that. And a comment about Kimi K2 was that it's really good for novels or really long form content. If you're going to do a long research paper, Kimi K2 thinking would have a creative writing edge for you.
Nice.
And it's a little too large to run on most local systems.
Yeah.
So
Now, it's
just
a
check that
it's a
out
trillion.
myself. And it's way too big.
It's a trillion parameter model, but it activates 32 billion at a time. So
Yeah.
it knows, it has a smart router in effect that says, okay, for this portion of this inference run, I need only this set, this 32 billion to attend to. I don't have to run every token through every single one of the trillion.
Yeah.
So it's efficient in that way.
Well, in terms of time for today, like I think I'll skip the quick story I had about Dr. Feifei Li because honestly, it could be its own segment. She wrote a really long article. If nothing else, it'll actually give me time to read through the entire thing. But it's really, really good. If anybody wants to read ahead or read that article, you can literally look up. It's her Substack, Dr. Feifei Li. And that's the Substack. And Feifei is FEI-FEI, last name LI. So you can go look that up. But it's all about spatial intelligence. It's all about what she's been working in AI for the better part of 20 years, what she started a company about. She defines what spatial intelligence is and then goes on to talk about how we're going to get to this next level that she believes is the legit future of AI. Not because she wants it to be, but she doesn't necessarily see a different path there. So very, very influential person in AI. So maybe we'll just leave that for like a Thursday or Friday, and we'll dive into that paper a little bit deeper. So with that said, either Jyunmi, did you have one last quick newsletter, otherwise, or news item, or otherwise we'll throw it over to Andy.
Oh, let's throw it over to Andy. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, well, today I want to talk about one of the most useful applications from one of the greatest AI companies in the world, and it's Notebook LM from Google. So Notebook LM made a big splash early on because of their voice podcast model of digesting source material that you upload to it and giving you an audio way to be taught about that subject, whatever, or the topic that's in those articles. And it's a note-taking system as well, because you can add hundreds of sources into a single notebook, and you can dynamically select those sources and generate different outputs, distill the output in the form of a briefing doc or a study guide or an audio or video thing. And you can then add that as one of the sources. So this distillation process happens. Well, they've made an update to it, and they've also drawn my attention to the fact that there is an application, a mobile application for Notebook LM. So this is not just accessing it through the mobile browser. This is a full-on iOS and Android application for Notebook LM. And they just did a November 6th update to that application that adds two very cool features to that, and dramatically improves the conversational interaction you can have with the sources that you have in that. And I got to believe, and I haven't downloaded it yet and tried it yet, but that's one of my missions for this week. But I got to believe that if you have a Notebook LM account on the desktop and you already have a whole bunch of different notebooks, you access those notebooks through the application. So now you can chat with any one of your notebooks on the mobile device with voice interaction. Wow. Okay. But in addition to that, they added flashcard generation and also quizzes to the mobile app. Now, there is flashcards in the desktop application. I haven't tried it yet. But many people find that learning about a difficult topic is accelerated if you can do flashcards. Okay, here's this one. Oh yeah, okay, good. And here's the next flashcard. Yeah, got that. And like bite-sized, memorizable pieces that the Notebook LM Smart inside can generate for you and give you that tool. But now on top of those flashcards and quizzes in the mobile app, you can also use chat, and Google on November 6th said it will now respond to your questions and your sort of queries about the subject with 50% better quality, thanks to a 4 times larger context window.
Nice.
And 6 times longer conversation memory. So they're expanding the capabilities of that chat. And so that big update to the Notebook LM applications, it makes it easy to learn anything on the go, wherever you are, right? So here's what you can do. You can memorize key terms, important dates, core concepts with the flashcards. You can test your comprehension and challenge yourself with quizzes. This is from, I'm reading now from their short announcement. It's literally one paragraph about the November 6th update. And you can customize the topic. So you can set the difficulty and choose the number of cards or questions in those things. So you can vary the kind of learning process that you're going through. And here's a key one. You can temporarily select or uncheck the sources that are being used to generate the responses to chat or the flashcards or quizzes that you're creating. So this is really useful if you think about it, where, there's this one area that I want to concentrate on, and it's really only about these two sources in my notebook. So I want my chat not to, look across all of the sources, have all of them checked simultaneously, but I can, on the mobile app, I can uncheck everything, deselect all, and then just check those two and say, okay, now give me flashcards for that. Or here's my question about these subjects. And it's going to be contained to those sources, that sort of knowledge domain that's represented by the data that you put up in those documents that you added there. So I encourage everyone, most importantly, because I'm encouraging myself, to download the Notebook LM app if you're a Notebook LM user, and start to see just what this means, in the world of self-education, or just in your own knowledge management repository, which is the way I use it. It's now, I used to be using Notion, and I was putting everything into a Notion database, which just ends up being really complex and doesn't really have, it has an AI assistant that can look at those things. But Notebook LM has really simplified the whole process of creating a knowledge base and, an active interrogative assistant that I can work with there. And now I'm going to talk to you about two Chrome extensions that make it even better. Okay, so I often chat with a notebook on Notebook LM on my desktop. So I'll generate the briefing doc, or I very rarely do the audio because I don't have time to just sit and listen to an audio thing. So those are things generate, and they're like 10 minutes long. I'm really sort of, scattered random access kind of attention. But I'll often, think about something in response to, one of the summaries that it's generated or whatever. And I'll then enter into a dialogue in chat on the Notebook LM desktop. Okay. Now you have this dialogue going, and the Gemini behind the scenes is actually adding quite a bit of elucidation, let's call it, that, you're understanding this better. And now you want to keep that. Well, you can't keep that chat. That chat is not retained. Typically. I think eventually it will be retained, but the chat around that isn't retained by Notebook LM. But now there's a Chrome extension that lets you do that. You can save those chats to a PDF with a Chrome extension called Notebook LM to PDF. Okay, so now I just want to jump aside here and say that these are Chrome extensions, right? So who owns Chrome? Google. You can't use those Chrome extensions that make Notebook LM so much better. And there's another one I'm going to talk to you about next, but this one, the Notebook to PDF, gives you the ability to capture that chat, generate a PDF immediately, and add that PDF to your sources. Okay, a couple of clicks and it's in there. So this solves a problem that, is there if you, like me, have entered into a conversation that generated a bunch of outputs from Gemini that are really useful in understanding that topic. So you're not going to lose these valuable conversations if you just add that free Chrome extension, and probably built by Google, but maybe not by the large body of people who make them out there. Okay, so here's another extension that you have to know about. So Notebook LM accepts YouTube videos. There's a lot of instructional value out there in YouTube videos. and you can add them as sources. But if you want to add multiple videos, you've got to copy each URL and manually import it in Notebook LM. Okay. If you see a playlist from some particular, creator that you wanted to include into a notebook to understand everything that they've talked about, you would spend a lot of time having to select and copy all of those things. Well, this extension called YouTube to Notebook LM, not hard to find, lets you select a single URL, or you can grab, in addition to an individual video link, you can grab an entire playlist if you've generated a playlist, or an entire channel. You can say, take this entire channel and put it in a notebook. Now, I think there may be some, data, limitations on how much you can pack into a notebook, but I don't know what that is. Anyway, so with that extension installed, you can import entire playlists, from the YouTube page, and incredibly even entire channels to a notebook with just one click. And then you can talk to the chat on your mobile device about everything that this particular creator that's represented by all those videos talks about in those. Now, I got to believe, because I believe, when we first started seeing that certain models could, take a video and understand it, that in the case of Google's interpretation of those videos, it's not limiting itself to just the transcript. It's actually looking at the videos. And so if there's a graph inside the video, it gets that. If there's, a diagram, or if there's, some other visualization, like a video within that video, all of those things I think get comprehended by that. But I haven't tested that myself. You have to check that out. So Notebook LM, it's really moving forward in many exceptional ways. And these Chrome extensions make it even easier to use. So check those things out. Now I want to close out with something that's really interesting, which is, now I will say that Notebook LM, using the YouTube to Notebook LM thing, might be able to do something akin to this if you use the video generation feature to see, but I don't think it's going to compare to this new tool, free at present, called tldw.us. Okay, so similarly, this is not focused on collecting a large, data set and then, understanding and interpreting and summarizing that. This one is about taking a long YouTube that has a lot of good content in it and compressing it into a highlight reel. And what it does is it has a technology built into it. So you save the YouTube that you want by just pasting the URL into tldw.us. The UI is sitting here on my desk. It's basically just like a Google sheet, right? Here's the entry box. Paste the URL here, and then it's going to digest that and present a new video for you that is the highlight reel of that video. And what it's doing is it's analyzing the video transcript to identify the most high signal parts of the video, and then excerpting those parts of the video and editing a new video that's highly compressed to be just the highest signal presentation from that. So you get rid of all the stuff. Imagine that we could take the entire video of the wonderful Tony Robbins, Gene Graciosi presentation and testing it for the high signal pieces and getting a highlight reel of just the things that had high signal. As we said yesterday, I think that probably, the presentations by Ali and Rachel and Sabrina would probably elevate to that, and it would, give you that. But I don't think there's a YouTube video for that whole presentation. So anyway, this is a very cool tool. I haven't tried it yet myself, but I wanted to tell you about it because it hit a number of the newsletters as a tool to watch. And tldw.us curated highlights from the YouTube source. And one of the articles I read about it just basically said, I can't watch YouTubes anymore. Instead, I'm watching these summaries in tldw.us.
That's super cool. We need to check that out for the show too, and see what kind of highlights it does and produces for what we do. I
Yeah.
was just checking out, like, while you were talking. By the way, way back, Cisco said he can confirm that desktop and mobile sync. Okay, because you were asking about that. You said you hadn't tested it, but Cisco says no, I have, and it works fine. Also, the YouTube to Notebook LM is slick because you literally are on YouTube, and I went to I'm going to say the name wrong. It's in a nutshell. It's the German word Kurzgesagt. I butchered that. I know I did. They say it differently on the show, but they're amazing videos. I mean, amazing videos about all sorts of stuff: the world, stress, DNA. I mean, they just do really, really cool stuff. And so I just said, I literally clicked the Notebook LM. It said, create a new notebook, and I said, yep. And then really all it said to me after it put every single URL in there, it did say, because I'm on my plan, it says this notebook's reached its 50 source limit. Go ahead and upgrade. I don't remember what the upgrade is on my scaled account, but it is definitely more than 50 sources. So what I can say is that even for a basic account, which is what I'm currently looking at, you can get 50 videos from a channel, which is for some channels is like everything, and put it in here and then ask questions against it. And then I think the keys here would be to see, like you were saying, Andy, like, is it going to be on the transcripts? And that part I'm not 100% sure of. I know we've asked similar things to Gemini before, but I don't know that I've personally ever tested against Google Notebook LM to see if it has that ability or not. So that'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
And the other website was what was the one?
So it's for too long, don't watch.
Yeah.
Right. tldw.us.
.us.
Yeah, that's definitely something I want to check out and see if I can determine what kind of backend process they're doing there for analysis of the video, and then what they're using to actually restitch that video together. I think that's an interesting application of it.
Yeah, and I think what I gathered from it was that it's analyzing the transcript for the sections that actually have some quality substance, and then it takes the timestamps for those and pulls that piece.
Yeah, that's super cool. I'll have to try it. I'm going to throw a link in here. We won't have time for it today, but we can always talk about it tomorrow. And I just threw in one of our videos from YouTube. So we'll have to talk about that tomorrow and see how it did as far as actually making a highlight of it. I just picked it's a 49-minute show that we did called, well, did it do it that fast? Is it done? Hold on a second.
By the way, I think I don't know the details on it, but it was built by a single person.
Yeah, this is the video I picked. Can we save AI with light? How to fix AI's major traffic jam with, I don't know what the rest of the title was. And then it says, this is 49 minutes. It says overall highlights, play all. This is the full one. I'm maybe confused on what I'm supposed to do here, but let me just see. Skyrocketing. So much so that, to say, put it in perspective, by 2030, they're predicting the global data center electricity consumption. I'm just curious if it's going to skip 945 terawatt hours. Now, if you're like me, you're like, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, great, 945 terawatt hours. Like, give me some reference points to that, because I wouldn't know what that was either.
Are those chapters?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, it made the chapters at the bottom, right? Jyunmi? So what I'm curious is here, is it going to jump? It played this 36 seconds, and now is it jumping to what it thinks the next one is, which is the AI traffic jam, Cooper and Electron, limitations and microchips. So, but that's an equivalent to the current annual electricity demand of the entire nation of Japan. So we're talking about just global data centers, not what the rest of the world needs. And that's a prediction for 2030. So what are we talking about here? So it's not, no, I don't think it's stopped, obviously. I don't know. I'll have to play with it more, obviously, to see. And it appears that it did create the different segments, and it says overall highlights, AI traffic jam, memory consumption.
And we've gotten really good
I guess
at
you
making
can go
GPUs
to
and
those
CPUs
areas.
even more.
Okay, if I click on energy consumption, it's giving me highlights for that area. I don't know. More to play with on this one and see exactly what they built. It was very fast. It was very fast. And I don't exactly know what we got out of it, but like while I was saying it to you guys, it was done rendering on the back end. So it could be really, really valuable to somebody if they just need to pop in a video and break it down and do that. So, all right. Well, listen, we will wrap it up today. Jimmy, you're saying you don't have a end either button on your side, as I'm seeing your note. So neither of you guys show an end stream on your. So we literally can't end the show, is what you're saying. We have to go on for 24 hours. And so I don't know what happens if I hit the go live button, but we will see what happens. I don't know if we're still going to be here or not, but let me wrap it up. That's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with us. Come back tomorrow and the rest of the week for more AI fun. And yeah, we're gonna see here because there was a blip. There was a blip at the top, and we stayed going live. But now the question is, how do we end? So let's see what happens, guys. We'll see. We might be here in a second. All right, start stream. Nope, that's to start the stream. It says broadcast is already live. See, aren't you guys
Let's
getting
just,
so much fun?
let's just see what happens if we all just shut our browsers.
But that should stop it,
That
right?
should kill
Sure,
it.
sure. It may keep it going for 5 more minutes, but we won't be there. So everybody just make a cool pose while you close the window.
Yeah, Jude.
Right.
Jude, call me if you have an update on what happens after we're gone.
7th, or say, hold on. Today is the 11th, right? So I'm literally going to open up our. All right, I have our live feed. I have our live feed open in YouTube, so we'll find out in a second here if we all shut down. Anyway, everybody have a great day. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll see you tomorrow.
Aloha.
Bye now.